Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you don't know me, my name is Mare and I've been making Swiftie fangirl and book talk content for about 5 years now, and I'm so happy to have you on my YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome to my channel, and if you're not new, thank you for coming back. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm so excited for this week's video because this is my first book video. In today's video, I will be giving you 13 book recommendations for 2025, and my qualifications to give you guys book recommendations is that I'm an English major. I was born from an English major, so basically I was born knowing how to read, and I've been reading every day of my life ever since pretty much, so I feel like I'm a good person to give you guys recommendations. For the sake of this video and being inclusive, I tried to pick books that new readers and also seasoned readers would equally enjoy. So these books are a bit on the basic side, but out of the more basic or popular books that I've read, these are ones that I did love. I did try to find as much of a variety of books as possible to share with you guys. Also, I have a challenge for myself for this video, and I'm trying to be very conscious of what I'm saying and not using the word like, because editing my last YouTube video was painful for me. We'll see how I do. Number 1, starting off with a freaking bang, is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Obviously, I couldn't not put a Taylor Jenkins Reid book on this list because I think she's one of the best authors that I've ever read. I enjoy pretty much everything that she's ever written, and specifically, a lot of you might know of the kind of multiverse that she's created between The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Malibu Rising, and Daisy Jones and the Six, which has a TV show now. It's very popular. This is actually a 4th book that's in this old Hollywood universe, but this one I think is kind of unique because instead of the acting, singing Hollywood, it's sports. And for me, someone who grew up doing sports all the time, this was so interesting. So Carrie Soto is a tennis player, and I will say the script or the plot is not that similar to Challengers, but I think the whole aesthetic when you read it is very similar to Challengers. And for me, that was my favorite part of the movie, was just like the old tennis aesthetic. It wasn't even old, but you know what I mean? Like the country club tennis aesthetic. I think this one is so underrated compared to her other books on TikTok. It is newer, but I don't see enough people talking about this book. I think like all her other books, it's just such a simple read. It's hard to put down, easy to finish in one sitting. I don't know. I cannot recommend this book enough, and I don't know enough people who have read this. So Carrie Soto is Back. Basically, Carrie is a tennis player. She was the best of the best, and just when someone else is about to beat her record and become the new best, she comes out of retirement, and I freaking love that for her. Number 2 is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I only have about half of my books here with me because I am at college, so I don't have some of these, but keeping things in the world of Taylor Jenkins Reid, I am going to recommend another one of her books, but this one is actually outside of her little Hollywood cinematic universe, literary universe. I don't quite know why to this day, but I have never been as impacted by a book as I was reading that one. I've never cried so hard over a piece of literature, and to be honest, it was kind of a user issue because the book is a love triangle and I was rooting for perhaps the wrong guy. It's one of those books where it's just very real feelings. The situation was not super realistic, but the feelings that came from it, I just think they're so real. I don't know how to explain it. Basically, love triangle where there's no real bad guy. It's just 2 different guys who are very different. How do I know who's the guy for me? And I just thought that it was so devastating. I literally had a breakdown the night that I read this book.
I feel like I'm never gonna be happy again. I feel like ill.
And for that, I will have to always recommend it because not only is it a great book, but I've never been impacted in that way by anything else that I've read. And for that, she's doing something really right. Another quick read. I read it in one night, like rom-com fiction type book. Another great one. Number 3 is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Of course, I had to kick it with a little classic. So if any of you are interested in getting into classics, I think Jane Eyre is the perfect way to go. I'm actually rereading this one for a class at college right now, and I'm falling in love with it all over again. This is a book where I love to annotate it because there's so many great quotes, including what I think is one of the most iconic quotes in literature ever, the iconic fourth wall break. I'm not gonna spoil too much. You just have to read it, I guess. But I think this is a great intro to classics because the language I don't think is super difficult in comparison to other classics. And also, I'm not someone who loves reading classics. I pretty much don't unless I have to. But this is one that I would read many times again. And Jane is is such a character where I feel, at least for me, I can see myself in her from the time she's just 10 years old and then she gets to grow up and I get to feel even more myself in her. And if you're worried about reading a classic, I will say, I saw on TikTok today that someone described this as the Wattpad of classic literature, and do with that what you will. I guess I would say that I agree. There's a lot of drama, romance, all the things, hating the men. It's all there. Number 4 is Small Great Things by Jodi Picoult. I will say Jodi is my favorite author of all time. My mom and I both adore her books. We probably have 15 of them in our home. If I had to pick any singular author to be the only author I could read for the rest of my life, I would pick her. I think all of her books are amazing because they all come with a lesson or a real life experience that is just very impactful, very powerful. These are very powerful books. I would recommend everyone to read Small Great Things. From the time I first read it a couple years ago, I knew that it was a very important read. It discusses race in America. I think one of the main things is like the white savior complex of people in America, and it has a really unique and interesting take on that. I think a lot of people would benefit from reading it. It's just a very eye-opening book. It's a sad book, but again, it's one of those things where it's very real. It's very applicable to real life. A brief synopsis of the book is the main character is a Black woman and she's a labor and delivery nurse, and she encounters a white family who has a baby, and they refuse the care of this Black woman who's their nurse, and they say, I will not see a Black doctor, I need to see a white doctor. When the child's life is on the line, she's left with the instructions to not go near this baby at all, do not interfere with anything, but the baby's about to die and she has a decision to make, and a lawsuit comes out of it, a whole thing comes out of it. One of the other main characters is the lawyer who takes on this case defending the labor and delivery nurse. I think the themes of the white savior complex is just something that has made this book stand out to me, and again, like a very, I feel like necessary read almost for, I guess, the way that our country is looking right now. It's one that I'll always recommend. It taught me a lot, and it was also just a very interesting and engaging book. I love it. Now, like I said, Jodi is my favorite artist. Jodi is my favorite author, so I am gonna do a second book from her. So number 5 is 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult, and this is another one that I actually have gotten a lot of my friends to read, and another one that I will not stop recommending. This book is about a school shooting, so again, a very relevant issue to our country. This book was such an interesting read. It had, to me at least, a very surprise ending that left me thinking about the book even longer than I would have. Believe me, her books are something that you will never forget for the rest of your life, and I would recommend every single book she's ever written, but I have to keep it down to 2 for the sake of this video being even somewhat fair. Number 6 is going to be My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Odessa Mosfeg, and this book is definitely one of the most interesting books that I would say I've ever read. I think this is the kind of book for someone who's looking for something a little bit more like darker or more serious. It's not super dark, but it's definitely like not a super like up-paced, super engaging, a lot of action book. It's kind of a very slow book, but it has great writing. It's told by an unnamed narrator, a mysterious narrator who is very miserable. Her year of rest and relaxation is her year of misery. So she's a very miserable character, but I think that makes for a lot of funny and witty lines. I really enjoy the writing of this book. The ending of this book came as a surprise to me. It was a surprise ending that I think made this book even more impactful and made me think about it even longer than I probably would have if it weren't for the ending. Again, this is a book for if you're into Sylvia Plath, that kind of world. That's who I would recommend this book to. It's definitely not going to be if you're a rom-com reader or a basic fiction reader. It's probably not going to be your book, but if you're someone who's looking for very interesting and unique writing, I think that that's a great choice. Also, this is a bad reason to recommend a book, but it's just so cute. I have this book displayed on my wall because I'm really intrigued by the cover and I love it. Number 7 is going to be My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, and I have this one with me. This one also is definitely in that darker world. This one's definitely dark, and I feel like I have to be very abundantly clear and make a disclaimer here that I do not romanticize any of the tropes in this book at all. I don't romanticize anything about this book at all, but I do think it's a good read. Content warning, this book is about a student at a boarding school who is groomed by her teacher, and the toll that it takes takes on her for the rest of her life. Yeah, nothing to glamorize about this book. It's uncomfortable reading this. I am disturbed. You're supposed to be. I wouldn't recommend a book if I thought that it was romanticizing these things, and I personally don't think that this one does, because I think this book does a good job of depicting this relationship as something that is wrong. You're made to feel uncomfortable. There's nothing about this book that made me ever think that the relationship is okay. Obviously, we have the main character's perspective, who is being manipulated and she doesn't know, but as the reader, I'm not in her shoes of like thinking that this was okay and that, you know what I mean? So I want to be very clear about that. This is a very compelling book. It's hard to put down. It's very interesting. This book, I just have to sit down and finish it when I read it. So if you're looking for a more darker thing to read, I would recommend this. If you're not looking for that, I wouldn't, but it's a good book. Taking a completely different turn, number 8 is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. And this is your true rom-com. For all you rom-com lovers, I see you and I love you. I wish I was more of a rom-com enjoyer. For some reason, I struggle with them. So that's why I'm saying this one is a good one, because I loved this book. For some reason, with the book talk rom-coms, I'm so intrigued and I buy them all and I have them all and I try to read them, but for some reason I don't love them. Not this book. Childhood Friends. It was a bit of a slow burn, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it took them a while to get there. Just another great rom-com. If you're looking for one and you haven't read it for some reason, I think that's a great one. I'm tough to please with the rom-coms, but this one did it for me. Number 9 is gonna be Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell, and this one is for you mystery thriller lovers, because this is the book. I don't read this genre a lot, but this is the book. It's a very eerie tale of a mother whose daughter goes missing when she's a child. She's announced as dead. Plot twist. But it's a mystery book. It's a plot twist. It's one of those books that makes you look at the people in the room with you and makes you think, like, can I actually trust you guys? Because this book just like with my head. It's one of those books, and I feel like a good book that gets me like is hard to come by. I also believe that this book is probably for like a bit of a younger audience than me, because I read it years ago, but I mean, still hits. I wanted to include a few in here that were for younger audience just because I don't know. But if you're in middle school or early high school, I feel like this would be a good book. This is one that I will just think about sometimes, and I'm trying not to say anything that's like too spoilery, so I'll leave it at that, but read this book. Number 10 is going to be Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner, and this one is a memoir for all you memoir lovers, because I am one. This is a great memoir. I really do love this. I also know there's probably a lot of music lovers on this page. If any of you listen to Japanese Breakfast, the lead singer of the band, Michelle, is the author of this book. You also get a little bit of that music being in a band side. It's not heavily about that at all, but that's there. Crying in H Mart is a memoir, and it touches heavily on grief of losing a parent, but also having complicated feelings and relationships towards a parent. She's Korean American. It deals with being mixed in America and the experience of that, and for me that obviously resonates. I just think that even if it doesn't resonate for you, it's a good eye-opening read. Also, another unique thing about this book is that she discusses her parents' cooking so much throughout the book. That was one of the ways that she was able to connect with the parent that she had not the best relationship with. That's another way that she copes with her grief, and the food imagery in this book is amazing. You're going to be hungry for all the food that she's discussing, but this is a great memoir. It's sad. It's everything. You feel all the feelings with this one, and I really do recommend it, especially if you're a Japanese Breakfast fan. Number 11 and number 12 is If He Had Been With Me and If Only I Had Told Her by Laura Nowlin. These books are definitely, I would say, very good for someone who's younger than me, early high school, even middle school. These are two books where never for the rest of my life will I be able to forget how they made me feel. And it was not good. The two main characters are Autumn and Finney. Their moms are best friends. They grow up together. They're next door neighbors. They have family dinners. They're the best of friends. Until middle school and high school, when everything is awkward and suddenly, like, are we even friends? Like, we don't speak. Things are awkward. Things are weird. Everything is weird when we're this age. And they're not the exception. Things become weird in this relationship that has always been nothing but best friends. They have different friend groups. They have relationships. Like, what happens with them? So this book is told by Autumn. them, and then this book just recently came out, and this is Finney's perspective. My beloved Finney. I love him. I will say though, disclaimer, I was recently in a book club where we read this book, and everyone was discussing how cringy so much of these books are, and I have to say, I see what you're saying, but I can't internalize it and believe it myself. This is not a spoiler, but Autumn wears a tiara every single day as a fashion statement. She just does. And for me, I'm like, you go girl. That's so cute. Yes, I love it because I love them. But like, I understand where it could be cringy and weird to be in class and have someone next to you wearing a tiara every single day. So for that, I will say, if you read this and you're cringing at everything, don't say I didn't warn you. I just don't see it. Book blindness. Last but not least, number 13, my beloved Looking for Alaska. It wouldn't be a recommendation video if I didn't recommend this book. This is one definitely younger. It's a John Green book. I probably read this for the first time when I was a 6th grader, but I'm never gonna stop loving this book. This honestly changed reading for me, even though I was someone who always read. I wrote my college essay based on this book, and for me what it was is just the character Alaska herself. I think this was the shift where I started reading for the characters and how I could relate to the characters and how the characters made me feel. I think Alaska was the blueprint for everything that was to come for me. She's one of those characters where if you're a person who sees yourself in books and movies and songs and you can resonate with people so deeply, I think this will be something that you enjoy no matter how old you are. There's also a TV show of this now, and I think they portrayed Alaska perfectly, which makes it hit even harder now. That's also definitely worth a watch. It's just a sweet... No, it's not. It's sad. Alaska is at boarding school. It's actually not told by Alaska. It's told by her friend Miles, who she meets at boarding school. They're in the same friend group. Alaska was the icon for me when I was 12, and still to this day, she's someone who I just see myself in. I'm always gonna love you, girl, and I'm always gonna recommend your book. Number 13 is Looking for Alaska by John Green. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope if you're watching and you were looking for a new book, you found something that seems like something that you would want to read. These are all books that I love dearly, and if I could just get one person to read them and then talk about it with me, I've done something right. Also, read, guys. Hot people are reading in 2025. I promise if you love music and you love movies, you will love books. Once you get into books, you are unlocking a whole new world, I'm telling you. The stories are endless. The world becomes your oyster. Open a book. It's never too late to start. I promise it will change your life for the better. That's my TED Talk. But if you like this video, please drop a like and smash that subscribe button. Also, leave a comment. If you didn't find a book for you in this video, comment down below what you like to read, and I probably have a book for you. I tried to be very generic and inclusive in this video. So if you have anything specific that you liked or types of books that you like to read, let me know. I have book recommendations galore. I will never run out. Or if you have recommendations for me based on what I've told you that I like, please give them. I'm always looking for new things to read. Be sure to follow me on my other social medias, including both my Instagrams and my TikTok. They'll all be on the screen right here. And stay tuned for another video next week. Thank you guys again for watching my video. I love you guys. Bye. Bye, guys.